Hello and welcome back to the Live for Today, Plan for Tomorrow podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Bodner, with the Bodner team of One Trust Home Loans. Today, I'm really excited to have a friend and a guest, Ginger Bell, on today. Welcome, Ginger.
Thank you, Gabe. I'm so excited to be here and happy to see you again.
Happy to see you too, and thanks so much for being here. Ginger has not only been a friend, but Ginger actually helped me publish my first book and my second book,
Yep,
uh, Retirement Mortgage Playbook and the Mortgage Playbook. So thank you again, Ginger, for all of your help with all of that.
absolutely.
And you were instrumental in all of those sorts of activities and all the efforts and go to market. So again, thank you for all of that. And through that relationship, really was through a company that you had founded called Edu Marketing. But I wanted just to have you introduce yourself as the founder and CEO of Go To Training, which I know is a educational consulting company. Um, and now you are, of course, an AI expert and consultant. So please, if you don't mind, just give our listeners and viewers a little bit of a background on your background and what you're doing today.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Gabe. First and foremost, I want to say it's all about education. And that's one of the things when you and I first met that I loved about you is you lead with education. And education is so powerful. So for your listeners who listen to your podcast, who have read your books, and if you haven't gotten Gabe's books, you should get his books. Great information. That's what it's all about. When I founded Go To Training, gosh, it's almost 20 years ago. It was based around
Congrats.
education. And the whole idea was to be able to educate. In the mortgage industry, we have so many different products, so many different programs. And so, I started the company to be able to help large organizations take what they had for their products and to be able to create educational marketing pieces for their account executives to use to share with loan officers to help them to educate consumers. And so that's really what the base of my company is about. And always at my heart, I am an educator, I'm a trainer, I'm a teacher. And so everything I always do leads with education. And the AI came into play really in 2022 when ChatGPT first came out. And I had been using AI and looking at AI in a lot of different fashions because I did a lot of consulting for learning management systems. So,
Mm.
technology to create learning management systems for organizations to use to provide higher education, online learning, continuing education, things like that. And so AI was part of that. We did a lot of gamification. So I knew about AI really before AI became as popular as it is today. Was intrigued by it, always found it to be something to pay attention to. And when ChatGPT really came onto the market in November of 2022, I jumped in both feet because I loved everything you could use ChatGPT for specifically to be able to educate yourself. And that's really, I think, part of the conversation. I know your audience, whether you're a loan officer that's serving, individuals in retirement, whether you're someone who is in retirement or having questions about financial products. Really, it's an opportunity to use it as an education piece, just like YouTube was when YouTube first started, right?
Sure. Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you for that. And we are going to dive into that here shortly. And I do want to also just mention, I know you do a lot of work with the National Association of Mortgage Brokers, and you're a huge advocate for our industry. So thank you for that. And part of what I really loved about working with you is our thought process, I believe, is very similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Marketing inherently is about providing information to a prospective customer, but so much marketing is so salesy, right? It's gimmicky. But I loved your style and technique, which was about delivering education and how
Mm-hmm.
do we package that education in a way that it is received, absorbed, digested, whatever you want to say, by the prospective client or consumer or past client. And
Right.
so again, I think that that's what has drawn me to you over and over, and how your techniques and what you do in your business and for your clients. So again, thank you for that. And as we kind of talk about today's topic, which is really about, as you know, many of my clients are, seniors, for lack of better terms, 55 plus years old,
Right.
either in retirement, approaching retirement, or would like to retire someday.
Right.
And many of them, I think, are scared of technology, for lack of better terms, fear technology and fear what it is, right? I have clients who don't even do online banking as an example because they're scared they're going to have their identity stolen or their,
Yeah.
things like that. So AI is a very powerful tool, but for
Mhm.
people who aren't familiar with technology, I think can be very scared of it. So let's start this discussion briefly by explaining what is AI, right? What does it mean? And try to explain it to me like I'm a child, if you will, in simple terms.
Yeah. So AI, and it's one of those things. I'm just going to use ChatGPT as an example because I
Okay.
think that's where it's good for people to start. ChatGPT is an app you can get on your phone. It's free, and it's a great place to start. So if you go to your phone and if you know how to add apps onto your phone, you can just go search ChatGPT. It's by OpenAI, and you can put it on your phone. So when ChatGPT, and it was really created by OpenAI, it's a large language model. So a large language model, and the basis is I like to think of it as this huge bucket. And so this huge bucket, they loaded into this huge bucket millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of documents of information, and it's all in the cloud, so it's not a physical document, but I mean it's everything that's out there, and they did this for years. And by loading it all in, then they started having a conversation. And so it's a large language model where it takes a base of information that has been provided to it, and from that base of information, you can ask a series of questions. And so when you ask a question, and that's called prompting. And so when you ask it a question, then it goes to its database of information. And it's kind of like, remember when we would go to the library and you would have to look up information and you would put it in. So for your audience, will probably relate to this a little bit. We used to have, it was like a microfilm little thing, and you would put
Yep.
up there and you could pull up articles, right? You could
Sure.
pull up newspaper articles, and that's how we would do our research, right?
Sure.
And so all of those articles, rather than having them on a microfiche to where you're going and looking at it, all of that's been loaded into this huge bucket. So when you ask it a question, it's going to go back and it's going to pull that information.
Yep.
And so that's what it bases it on. And when you ask a question, I equate it to like having a genie in a bottle.
Hmm.
So, if you got a genie in a bottle and you're granted three wishes, right? First of all, you think about the first thing is you can't ask for more wishes. I mean, that's always, which is what I would do.
Your
But
first wish is more wishes. Can't
is
you do that?
unlimited wishes.
Right.
It's like, listen, let's make this happen. So, but if you think about if I get a genie in a bottle, I'm going to say, okay, my wish, I love to travel, so I want to be able to fly wherever I want to go. And if that was it, so the genie may not know how that transportation is going to happen. I'm thinking first class, all this other stuff, but I haven't told it that. And so I might end up being, make me into a pig that has wings on and I can fly wherever. It's like, I want to be able to fly wherever. Okay, guess what? You can fly wherever you want. So when you're asking, you have to be specific about what it is that you want. So, for example, and I'm just going to use ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT almost daily. And so you can on ChatGPT, you can, we'll see if this works. We'll see if this is gonna work. So I have ChatGPT on my phone, and you can use an audio of it. So you don't even have to type into it. You can just use an audio. And so I live in Portland, Oregon. And so I'm going to ask ChatGPT a good place for me to go for happy hour today in Portland, Oregon. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to push on this little icon. It has a little thing that I can talk to it. So I'm going to push on that. And then I'm going to talk to it and I say, tell me a good place to go for happy hour in Portland, Oregon.
Absolutely, I can help with that. Portland's got a ton of great happy hour spots. One popular pick is a place called the Teardrop Lounge, which is known for craft cocktails and a really cozy vibe. If you're looking for something with a little more of a food and drink combo, you might want to check out Clyde Common. They've got a great happy hour menu and it's right downtown. So those are a couple to get you started.
It's
Okay.
awesome. It's amazing.
So super simple, right? And honestly, in just getting started. Now, those are honestly two places I've never even heard of, Gabe. Never heard of. If I was going to go on to Google and just search for happy hour places, I would have had to type it in. I would have had to search for it. I would have gone through a couple different things, right? And so I recommend just get started and start using it for some personal things that you're doing. Now, if you're looking at a couple of things, and we can get into safety. Um, don't ever put public information in there. So don't ever put your social security numbers in there. Don't ever put your tax information in there. Those are things, and those are things just in general people need to be cautious about. And obviously, your audience, that those are things that they're aware of. It's like that's why they don't touch that, trust mobile banking. Mobile banking is very secure. It's better than carrying around cash, but you
True.
have to be smart about it. So those are the kind of things that are being aware of. And the same with AI. It's like be smart about what you're doing, what you're putting in there. And if you're getting information back, you want to verify it. So verify the sources, right? So being able to do that, I think, is important.
So thank you for all that. You just covered a lot of information. So let me go back and kind of break down a few things. Number one, AI stands for artificial intelligence, but really what it is I heard you say, is a huge database of information that has been fed by the owner of that company. Okay. And in ChatGPT's case, it's OpenAI.
Open
In
source.
Google's case, it's Google, of course, right? And so there are companies like Google and Microsoft who have built their own AI,
Right.
right? And what you're saying, if I understand you correctly, is the company is providing that information or uploading the data to this knowledge base,
Yeah. And
right?
ChatGPT now, when it started, it didn't have direct access to the internet. Now it does.
Got
So
it.
it
So
has
there's,
direct access to anything that's on the internet, to Google or anything like that. So
got it.
so it can pull information in real time. Again, you want to verify it though. So
Sure.
like in anything that you're doing, you want to verify that information.
Yeah, because what I'm hearing you say again is, and now that ChatGPT as probably the best example that you've been using because it's the most commonly known and it's probably the most developed at this point
Right.
compared to the other large learning models, it does have access to the entire internet effectively. And so, what's the difference of somebody going to ChatGPT and asking the question you asked? And then let's just use that, right? I live in Portland. I'm looking for a good place to go to happy hour. What's the difference in the knowledge or the result, the answer that you might get back on ChatGPT versus asking that same question to Google as an example? If people are familiar with doing a internet search using Google browser.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's slower on
Okay.
Google. The other thing is it gets so it's kind of a push pull. So with ChatGPT, it's pushing information to you. And
Okay.
so and it's only giving a couple at a time. Whereas with Google, you're going to put that information and then it's going to pull up a whole list of different websites to go to. some of those websites might be a website that is suggesting lots of different places. And so you click on it and it gives you all these different places, but then you have all the different pop-up ads and everything else that you have to deal with there. So when you're going to Google, you're having to do a lot of that searching on your own and looking at different websites. Whereas with chat, it's giving you recommendations. Now you can really get detailed, and to the example of asking the genie in the bottle and being specific. So I had said, give me a place for happy hour. It gave me a couple of suggestions. I could say, I want a place that serves, only chicken, or I'm a vegetarian, or I'm gluten free. It's like, give me the 3 gluten free restaurants in Portland, Oregon, that are open today that have a good happy hour. So it's going to go to its database. It's going to pull that information. It's going to give it to me. I use ChatGPT all the time for traveling. I am
Yeah.
doing a trip to Stockholm and to London the end of this month. And I used it to search the places to go to. I used it to create all of my itineraries. It's created all of my maps. I mean, it's literally done everything. It is such a great organizer. And I am an organization, like I'm a spreadsheet queen. It's like I have to have everything all. So for me, it's just like, it's amazing. My husband loves it because he knows it's like everything's going to be all done. He just shows up. But it's so cool, all the different things. So for your audience, I recommend just start playing around with it,
Yeah.
asking it for different things. And if you're looking at retirement, um, my husband's going to be 65 next year, and we've been having conversations about, Medicare, and when is the time for him to be able to do that, and what if he doesn't, and he's still working and all of that. And so we honestly went and I taught him how to go into ChatGPT and start asking questions.
I love
What
that.
are the things you need to know? What are the things you need to be aware of? The what ifs. And ChatGPT is great for the what ifs. You do a lot in reverse mortgages. And so, you're looking at, in fact, it's funny, I was reading an article the other day, Gabe, that talked about um, the baby boomer, our generation of baby boomers has the highest percentage of home ownership, but also has the highest percentage of homes that need repair. And
Yep.
it talked about in this article about the next generation that's inheriting this, and we hope that we're able to obviously leave something on to our next generation, but they're inheriting this problem of houses that haven't been repaired that need to be repaired, and then it's stuck in this dilemma of what to do. And so that would be something, honestly, to go into ChatGPT and to have a conversation saying, hey, I want to make these repairs on my house. I owe this much money. How are some ways I can do this? And obviously, with the reverse mortgage, that's one of the things that they can do to be able to pull out of that equity, fix up the house, and not leave that headache to
Sure.
their heirs. So, I mean, those are the kind of things when you start thinking about, if you have a question, go to ChatGPT and have a conversation with it about, what are some of the things I need to be aware of. It'll give you things that honestly you haven't even thought about.
That's great. I think you nailed it from my perspective, which is if you have a question, you could go to Google and you can get a link to a website that might have some information or potential answers. You might also get a link to someone who's advertising a business or a service.
Right,
But Chat GPT is more about a conversation and
right,
it's engaging with someone who's one of the smartest people in the room, right? Such that you can ask it a question about, a vacation. You can ask it a question about retirement, whether it's collecting Social Security. I'm 65 years old. When should I collect Social Security, right? Medicare, right? Home equity, all the things that you mentioned. But what I find fascinating about it, and to your point, is it's a conversation. And the way that the AI has been designed is so engaging such that if you do ask it a question, you might say, hey, I'm 65, I'm looking to retire. I need to know my options regarding, Medicare. It may come back with something, but it also may come back with a follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more information about this. And
Yeah.
so it prompts you or the user so that, again, that engaging conversation, now it refines the response based on understanding the user or the individual and their situation even more so.
Yeah. And you can even set it up, Gabe, to where it'll interview you.
Oh, wow.
If I have a new, client and I'm thinking about what they are, planning and what they want, and I'm not sure I'm hitting everything, then I will ask it and I'll just say, hey, this client, this is their goal. I want you to ask me question by question, the things I need to think about in this project.
Yeah.
And so if you have someone say they're, coming into retirement, it's like, say I am, 60 years old and I'm currently working, I have this amount of money saved, I owe this much on my house. You can put those things in there. What I want you to do is I want you to interview me and I want you to ask me question by question, what it is that I need to do to plan, to prepare, and to think about the retirement that I want. And then it will lead you down those questions. And based on those questions, you can say, it may have you think about something that you haven't even thought about.
Sure.
Um, and that's the whole idea. It becomes kind of this like second thought, inspiration that will make you think. And I think it's a thing that a lot of people haven't realized that AI can do is it has made me be a better thinker
Hmm.
because it takes me down certain paths that I had never thought about before.
Wow.
And so I use it often for that, to be able to have conversations saying, well, what about this? Well, what about that?
That's awesome. It's the use cases are endless, right? Whether it's trying to find a restaurant in Portland to go to a happy hour, whether it's planning a family vacation, whether it's again talking about retirement strategies, and there's also simple things that I've used it for, which is, I'm writing an email to my boss as an example that says, "Here's how I really feel, but help me rewrite this in a way where I don't
Yeah.
get fired." Right? Help me write this in a way that comes across a little bit more professional and a little
Right.
bit more respectful or so forth. But yes, it's the use cases are endless. And again, I think as it relates to retirement planning, retirement strategies, I think there's a few things that I'll suggest really quickly as we get close to kind of wrapping up here, which is, like you said, Medicare planning, right? Do research as an example, Social Security, thinking about when to collect Social Security, right? There's a lot that goes into that in regards to your age, your health, if you're
Mhm.
married, your spouse, if they're still working, how much their benefit could be, all of those things. Utilizing home equity. What are the pros and cons about using home equity and using a home equity conversion mortgage versus selling the home? What are the costs and the pros and cons? All of those are, again, great topics that I think are very, very powerful that AI and ChatGPT can be used for, along with the other everyday tasks. Um, so as we, sort of think about this, and I know you said you've got to be careful, don't give it personal information, right?
Right.
Verify. I think it's
Mhm.
also important that we clarify that this is not a replacement for human interaction,
No.
right? So the professionals in the space that you're researching, whether it's a travel agent, right? Whether it's a financial advisor or a tax advisor or a mortgage advisor, this is not a replacement for those
Right.
professionals. Um, I think it's important to work in conjunction, right? In partnership
Right.
to say, here's what I've learned, here's some research I've done. What are your thoughts on this? Right. But
Exactly.
but maybe it's a great place to start doing research. But I think it's also important to not rely 100% on AI to make major financial decisions in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, And I'll just use my husband as an example. He's been attending some different webinars. And this morning he just shared with me he had a phone call from a retirement planner who, does the insurance. And she just called as a follow-up and she said, listen, all you need to worry about is they're going to send you a letter. You're going to fill it out. You're going to send it back. So a lot of the angst that people have, and he said talking to that person and having her knowing that she had the experience, she had the expertise, and even though we've done a lot of research, having that connection with that individual who is that trusted advisor was the confirmation that he needed. And I think in the world of AI, Gabe, to your point, having those personal relationships and interactions with those trusted advisors is more important now than ever. So do your research, get educated. I always think the most powerful thing you can do is to get educated, and ask those questions. What are the questions I need to ask? And then talk to someone like Gabe, or someone on his team who knows what's going on. Obviously, you've written 2 books. I know you do education, you teach at the University of Colorado. It's like you do that. That's what you're looking for. So the AI can give you the base, right? As far as the flights you want to go on. But when you get on that airplane, you want the pilot on there who knows how to fly it, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
thank you
that's
for
the whole
that.
thing.
Yeah.
And flights today, a lot of them are, all automatic and everything, but if something happens, you want to know that pilot is on there that knows what to do, that has been trained through those hurdles and to get you safely landed. And that's the thing that you want to think about when you're using AI.
That's a great point, and I think just to double click on that, right, the AI is great for research. It's great for giving you options, but it does not have the empathy. It doesn't have the experience. It doesn't know what you're truly dealing with.
Right.
And dealing with a human being, I don't know that AI will ever replace that. And I love the analogy of the pilot, right? Where we do have planes are flying on autopilot most of the time, but if there were an emergency, you want a human being behind that steering column, if you will. I don't know exactly
Yeah.
what you call it on a plane, but
I don't either. I don't need to know, but I want that pilot
That's
there.
right. That's right. And so the same goes with all of this. And I think, be careful of what you put into it. Be careful of what you get out of it. Take it with a grain of salt, but it's a great place to use research. Don't be scared of it, right? And I think the prompts, you gave some good insights earlier about the prompts, meaning the more information you feed it, the more detail you can feed it, the better response you're going to get out of it. I call it garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yeah.
If you just put, when should I collect Social Security? Like that's not really going to provide you an accurate response. But,
Right.
hey, I'm 65 years old. I've got a house that's worth $1 million. I have a mortgage at $100,000. I'm looking to retire in the next 2 years. I'm married. I've got 2 kids. I want to travel more. What do you suggest about, the benefits of using home equity? I mean, again, as an example, the more you provide it, the better your responses are. You can't give it too much information. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. So
So,
don't be afraid. Get started. Get it on your phone. Start with it on your phone and use it to find, simple things and then, just practice with it.
yeah. Awesome, Ginger. This has been fantastic. Hopefully, our audience today has built some confidence and gotten some tips, and that they just jump in because I'm with you. I think it's a great tool, and just like any other tool, it needs to be respected and used the right way. But I appreciate you being, leading in the forefront of AI and helping bring me into the fold, and helping me with everything in my business, in continue to provide education to our communities. So thank you for being here. As always, it's a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Ginger. We'll talk to you real soon.